So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's live webinar, Modernize or Migrate, AI, Automation, and Legacy Tech. We're going to be talking about top tech investments IT leaders are prioritizing for 2025. I'm Tracy Gardner, Director of Tech Webinars here at Vlink, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes. We are live with C-suite IT leaders and tech execs from across US, Canada, and beyond. And we want to thank you all for being here. We know there's many ways to spend your day, and your time is valuable. So we'll try to make it as valuable as possible here for you in what we're learning here today. So if you're joining us, chances are you're thinking about how to future-proof your IT infrastructure. Maybe your legacy systems are showing their age, or exploring how to integrate AI and automation without ripping everything apart. According to Gartner, nearly 70% of tech leaders see legacy tech as the #1 barrier to digital transformation. We're thrilled to be joined by Andrew Anderlonis, as I said earlier, a seasoned digital transformation leader, former CTO at CheckWriters, and former president of Rediger Software. Andrew's going to help us kind of unpack over the next 30 minutes what tech investments can't wait another quarter and how to approach modernization without breaking what's already working. We'll keep this fast-paced and focused. This is only a 30-minute webinar, so please submit your questions in the chat and we'll address them as they come in. Andrew, welcome. So good to have you here.
Thanks, Tracy. Hello, everyone. Really glad to be here. Very exciting topics today. Looking forward to talking about modernization and transformation, especially how we can rebuild systems to scale and more importantly, support AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Andrew, let's get to start us off. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear legacy systems are quietly draining budgets? You've been there before. What's the true cost of holding on to legacy systems beyond just that line item budget line?
I think it's a great question. To me, I think the biggest cost really isn't always visible. I don't think it's just about the budget. It's truly about lost momentum in the organization. Legacy systems can slow everything down, product delivery, integration, innovation. They can really make it harder and longer to ship new features. They can create integration headaches. They can limit your ability to adapt quickly when the market changes. There's also a huge cost, I think, in morale and retention. Talented engineers truly don't want to babysit obsolete systems or older antiquated code. They want to build, iterate, and innovate. They want to work on the things that are hot and trendy. So I've seen firsthand people and teams leave or stall because they feel stuck maintaining old code that maybe no longer supports the company's direction or vision. So when you don't modernize, you're not just paying for system upkeep, you're paying for turnover, missed opportunities, slower time to market. And then I think there's opportunity costs as well. I've seen companies lose customers or fall behind in the market because their systems couldn't adapt fast enough. So when you think you might be saving money by not affecting those changes, you're actually spending money maintaining legacy systems, but you're also paying for that in lost growth, speed, and talent.
Yeah, you don't think about the people piece. That's interesting.
Right.
And
yeah.
Andrew, from your perspective, what's changed in how CIOs and CTOs are approaching digital transformation in 2025 compared to just a few years ago? Do you find that most are underestimating that risk of delay?
I think, it's definitely about underestimating risk and also what I've seen not knowing where to start either. I think in 2025, most leaders that I've talked to and really know that they need to modernize. They don't know always how to begin without potentially breaking something or, where to start in their homegrown legacy enterprise systems. There's the old saying of like, don't fix it if it's not broke. But the risk of doing nothing, I think, is invisible until something does break, or you have a compliance issue, or there's a breach or a critical outage. But I think it's actually the fear of disrupting normal operations that feels very real. So people kind of freeze and don't take the necessary action because of that. But what's changed in 2025, I think, is the urgency, AI, cybersecurity, compliance. These things have made transformation unavoidable in any organization. Fear of disruption still causes paralysis. That's why I always say, like, don't start big, start smart. Begin with, I think the biggest one for me is like looking for single points of failure. look for where teams are doing the most with like workarounds, where your costs are getting out of control. I think if you can do a system inventory there, map things by business value, risk,
Hmm.
and dependency, it's going to make the path forward much clearer and give you the data that you need to get buy-in from leadership or company ownership.
Yeah, and I think we all fear change to some extent, and it's sometimes it can be so big in our mind. It's like you said, the paralysis and analysis. I mean, you just get paralyzed, figuring out where to go.
Exactly.
Um, what does a strategic dismantling of legacy tech look like, Andrew, in the real world? Can you kind of walk us through that phased approach, what it might that has worked?
Sure. It can be fairly complex, but in my past roles, we knew we typically couldn't just rip and replace. These are baked in systems that are being used. As we like to say, these are the systems that keep the lights on in a business. So we really had to keep those critical business functions running while modernizing underneath or under the hood. So we knew we couldn't just shut off everything and rebuild, as much as nice as that would be.
Yeah.
Instead, we typically end up taking a phased approach, and you have to build in parallel. So we usually start by decoupling legacy components, mostly using APIs. That really gives us some breathing room and flexibility. And then we start to rebuild piece by piece. So we
Mhm.
prioritize what delivers the most business value. We automate those manual processes. We work on improving things like uptime, introducing platform as a service functionality, cloud native components, really where things will make the most impact. That incremental approach usually gives us those quick wins while still building that larger, truly future-proof platform and system. It's
Yeah.
typically not flashy, because it's not this big bang change, but it works and it keeps the organization balanced and stable. Um, and I think that's key. Modernization isn't about a big bang. I think it's about sustainable change and smart transformation.
Yeah. And quick wins are important because they can be motivating to the team. And that's
Right.
really important.
Yeah,
And a
exactly.
quick reminder to everybody, we'd love to hear from you. So drop your questions in the chat, please. We'll answer those live. Taryn will help us know when a question comes in. So please drop those in the chat if you want to, if you'd love to hear, because Andrew's got a lot of thought leadership around this legacy transformation. So, Andrew, in your mind, what's the biggest pain point you're facing right now when it comes to legacy pain points?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tracy. I think one of the biggest legacy pain points I think myself and many others are tackling right now is interoperability. This is especially where old systems weren't built with extensibility in mind. These platforms really predate modern integrations or APIs, cloud integration standards. They were never designed to talk to other systems, let alone AI models. So you have a lot of these legacy systems out there. What makes it challenging is not just the age of the tech, outdated frameworks, things like that, but all the years of, you can update frameworks, you can do those things, but I think it's all the
Yeah.
years of custom business dependencies that are layered on top or, in between these systems. I'm talking about like workflows, reporting, compliance.
Yeah.
So typically you have to decouple piece by piece, kind of build around the edges with modern services, really move forward without creating disruption. Again, get those quick wins that we talked about. It's a much needed balancing act between addressing your technical debt and business continuity. You want to do things, the right way, but you're also trying to balance that with speed to market and not getting too far behind. But technical debt will catch up with you. But I think the hard part's not always necessarily the tech. I think, again, like I said, it's the business dependencies that have grown around it. I'm a firm believer that's why modernization needs to happen intentionally and in phases, so you can
Yeah,
approach it methodically.
for sure. And we do have a question, Andrew,
Yeah.
in the chat. The question is, what are the critical functions of the legacy application which we need to take care before planning? The critical functions of the legacy application that we need to take care of before planning for digital transformation.
Yeah, I think, that's part of that. We talked about a little bit about that roadmap. Obviously every, critical business system is going to be different in terms of what it does. But I think getting together with your stakeholders, defining what those critical business functions are, creating a roadmap of what those are to ensure that the things that you're addressing your pain points, but also that the things that you're touching aren't going to adversely affect your day to day.
Yeah,
So I think that's a little dependent on the organization to get into like a super specific answer there. But
yeah,
really, don't, again, speaking from experience, don't assume that you know
yeah.
everything about that system yourself. Work with the people who use that system, work with your stakeholders, and you're going to be in much better shape doing that, and that's going to help create a much better plan moving forward and really minimize any disruption. Because
Good
I've seen
advice.
people try to do those things and then they assume they kind of know everything, but again, there's those business dependencies that they maybe don't know about, and it really can cause some major disruption.
Yeah, good point. Hey, Andrew, we did a poll on LinkedIn, and I wanted to kind of take a look
Yeah.
at it now. If Taryn, if you don't mind showing that slide, we did it to kind of coincide with the webinar. We always like to pose a question and kind of look at it, kind of break it up a little bit, see the results here on this slide. What's the most immediate driver influencing your modernization timeline? And I just want to get your opinion on these results. So, need to scale, AI automation was 29%, operating
Yep.
cost reduction, 43, regulatory security needs, 14%, and competitive market demands, 14%. Anything surprise you about the results of the poll?
No, this is exactly what I would expect to see. We talked about there's that need, that overarching need and understanding that business leaders need to modernize right now, and that's the scaling AI and automation piece of it. So they know that that's
Yeah,
there. But there's the underlying notion of how do we get more efficient with these systems? It's very easy to stack system cost, and then that can spiral, right? You have potentially shelfware that you don't even realize you're paying for. So the efficiency of your operating costs is a big thing. When I said inventory processes,
yeah,
inventory your systems as well. Know what you're paying, know when they renew, know when your subscriptions are. That concerted effort is going to significantly help you reduce your costs. It's
yeah,
going to
absolutely.
really and then that's going to trickle down, obviously, once you're able to start to incorporate some of the automation and AI into that, you'll be able to further reduce costs is just because you're creating more efficient business processes. So they're very interconnected, and you can accomplish one with the other.
Absolutely. Great. Well, in any modernization, I think the goal isn't just modernization. We know it's really transformation. So let's talk about what a future ready tech stack means and what the non-negotiables are for IT leaders in 2025.
So let's see, non-negotiables. I think probably, the theme that we've been going on is really readiness. To me, I think cloud native is the foundation.
Yeah,
That's going to empower your ability for scale, so scalability and agility, and that's going to what's promote that AI readiness for you. And it really just
yeah,
doesn't mean like bolting on AI tools. It means clean, connected, real-time data systems that can evolve as models evolve. AI is dynamic, and I think you need to realize that in what you do because you really need to be dynamic as well. Security, I think, is really key too. To me, like nowadays, zero trust is a non-negotiable. It can't be an
yeah,
afterthought. Like that's got to be baked in at every layer and not bolted on the end as an afterthought. One of the things I always say to my
absolutely.
teams is to shift left on security, integrate it all the way back to the code. This is where, for people on the webinar familiar with like DevOps, this is where DevSecOps practices are critical. And if you don't know
Mhm.
about them, it's definitely investigate them or look into them because that's going to really what's going to help bake in security throughout the entire process development of, as you're building out these workflows.
And
Um,
we have a question, Andrew. Somebody
yeah,
put in it has exactly to do with security. So It says, how will we ensure the security and compliance of the modernized system? How do we
Yeah.
ensure the security and compliance of the modernized system?
Yeah, this is a really great question because I think, it depends on the requirements of what your system is, what kind of data it contains. I've worked with companies that have dealt with, they share their systems with for military use, and they have really stringent security requirements. So I think once you determine like what level of security you need, that's going to guide you into the tools that you need to use. There's a lot of AI tools out there. There's a lot of modernization tools. I think ecosystems, keeping things in ecosystems like Microsoft Azure, AWS, that's going to really help promote and make it a lot more maintainable on your part to maintain a high level of security with some of those native tools that they provide. I think it's when you start to use open source tools and start to use, maybe best of breed type solutions and things like that, where data needs to move from one system to another. That's where moving that data can get risky in terms of security. And also, if it is something like an open source tool, um, you know, there comes a responsibility on part of the organization as well to maintain security and keep those patches and updates there. Whereas with other cloud native tools, a lot of that stuff from a managed services perspective is going to be taken care
Yeah,
of for you. So if you're really concerned about security, I would stick with, your big cloud providers. They've like their tools have just, exponentially gotten better over the years with
yeah.
regards to building out these modernizations, and their platform as a service tools are really phenomenal when it comes to being assets in your modernization strategy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What do you find, Andrew, are some of the common traps companies fall into when deciding whether to modernize or versus migrate?
Yeah, I think the biggest trap is treating it like an all or nothing decision. Um, people think, oh, I either have to rip or replace it, or
Yeah,
I can't touch it, right? And to me, that's binary thinking, and I think it leads to stalled projects, definitely budget overruns. Sometimes building a shiny new version of your same old problems. Uh, thinking, thinking you either modernize again everything or nothing. I just think it leads to big bang failures or sometimes
mhm,
complete inaction. I think another trap is ignoring or underestimating dependencies. If you migrate a system again, and this alludes to that earlier question I was answering again, if you migrate a system without mapping what it relies on, you risk serious business disruption. Legacy
yeah,
systems deeply entangled in the organization and the workflows. And if you don't map those connections early, you're going to you will end up breaking processes that people rely on, and
yeah.
you're going to make some enemies out of, your coworkers. So I
Your
think the best and
stakeholders.
smartest,
Yeah,
yeah. And again, speak from experience there. I think the best and smartest approach is
yeah,
hybrid, meaning modernize strategically where it adds the most value, migrate what makes sense,
yeah,
and only what truly needs to move. I think that's important there. Again, that's alluding to that, doing it smartly, the small quick wins, and keep what's stable. As long as it doesn't impede or block growth, it's going to keep your risk low and your momentum high.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a good point. So all of them. There's so much noise around AI. Let's talk about AI real quick in digital transformation. You mentioned it a couple times. How should IT leaders think about AI readiness from the infrastructure perspective?
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of work in AI lately, and I think AI readiness really comes down to um, three things. Clean, connected data, like
Mhm,
that's a
mhm.
non-negotiable with AI because AI thrives on that data infusion. That's what powers it. It's really good at analyzing data, so making sure that you have clean and connected data. Um, Flexible infrastructure, I think, is really important. And a roadmap for how AI will augment your business. Again, there's a lot of business owners that say, I need to use AI, and they just don't know where to start. They're kind of all over
Yeah,
the place,
that's
again,
right.
having that plan, I think, and that roadmap's really important. But here's the key. And like I said before, start simple, right? Don't bite off more than you can
Mhm.
chew.
Mhm.
When I was leading my past teams, we didn't jump straight into building these massive AI workflows. We started by using AI tools to make our developers more efficient. Things like automating their code reviews, speeding up QA testing, log analysis, so the teams could resolve issues faster, they could work more efficiently. These were quick wins,
Yeah.
but they really built trust and momentum internally around these types of technologies, specifically these AI augmentations. So then as we gained confidence and got, our data in better shape, we're able to start thinking about tackling more complex AI tools such as advanced workflows,
Mhm.
automations, automating finance workflows, things that are manual, expense matching, transaction reconciliation. You're able to then start to automate those things automatically with building out agents. And now, the AI is elevated to more of an agentic AI status, which is now helping your team because they're built for specific purposes. So starting small, again, I think starting small is key. Don't bite it more you can chew. It's going to drive some early returns. You're going to see it. And then again, it's going to help the team build some skills and confidence needed for some more ambitious AI initiatives that, you're going to want to take on down the road. It's the
Sure.
proverbial crawl, walk, run, start.
I was just going to say that, Andrew. You
Yeah, I
took
mean,
the words right out
it's
of my mouth. I was going to say, you got to walk before you can run. Absolutely. I was
exactly,
thinking that when you were
exactly,
talking. Walk before you run, take those baby steps, learn to walk before you can run. So, really,
absolutely.
that's what it is. And just a reminder, everybody, we've got, probably 6, 7 minutes left. So, if you have any questions, please put them into the chat, and Andrew and I will get to those um, before we go here. So, Andrew, what advice do you have for CIOs, CTOs trying to get executive buy-in or board level budget for modernization initiatives? How do you tell them to prioritize? Because I know you have a lot of experience with it.
Yes. And I can tell you, first and foremost, speak their language, right?
Yeah,
Boards don't care about the technical terminology, container
right.
orchestration, AI orchestration. They care about business value, right? Risk reduction, speed to
Yeah,
market, ROI, right?
ROI.
Yeah, you got to tie the tech initiatives directly to the business outcomes, right? So show the cost savings, show faster delivery, show that there's now reduced downtime, right? And benchmark that against your competitors, right? Right? No, nobody wants to fall behind. No board wants to fall behind. So tie every dollar of investment to a business metric, risk reduction, and you'll get buy-in. They'll lean into it. Modernization is as much a business imperative it is as a tech one. I know that we're kind of on the tech side of things right now, but
Yeah,
you know, you have to be in alignment with the business side of this from a modernization standpoint. So frame it that way, and you'll
yeah,
you'll get that buy-in.
yeah. And for there's some CIO CTOs here in the webinar. So if for all of those out there, and if you were stepping into a new CIO CTO role tomorrow, Andrew, and legacy tech was a major blocker, what are the first three things you would do in the first 90 days?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, no, this is a good one too. I think again, there's going to be, I think, some overlap from what I said before. Like, right, you want to first like assess and inventory everything, right? You need facts before you can act. Really, you really need to know like what's not working,
Yeah,
what is working, what systems have clean data, which ones don't, which systems are we running, where are there risks, are there single points of failure, is there security gaps, what's costing us time and money. I immediately when I, my last organization I came into immediately came in and saw that we were running, a lot of our architecture on AWS, and half of it was just kind of sitting there, not being utilized and all that. We were able to shut some of that down and immediately save, $6,000-7,000 a month just like that. So
that's awesome.
it's sometimes just simple observability, and
Yeah.
from that assessment can really help there. And that'll help you really empower your data-driven decision making, which I think is again key there. I think
Mm.
secondly, find like a quick win to build trust, whether it's maybe that
Hmm.
like significant cost reduction, you can just, sometimes that's not always there. But it doesn't need to be something big, something small but impactful. I think something
Yeah.
tangible, maybe, an older system you can modernize or sunset quickly. Maybe it's moving like a workload to the cloud, retiring costly, redundant legacy tool, just something that would show like progress and create momentum. I think, I always say like quick wins, long-term success, right? And
Yeah.
I
Right.
think that's important there.
Baby
And
steps. Yeah.
yeah, I think that lastly, I would say building and socializing like a roadmap is really important. A roadmap might manifest itself in different ways within different organizations, but and I'm not just talking about like an IT roadmap or a tech roadmap, but this needs to be there needs to be buy-in at the business on the business operations side of this, right? I mean, this is
Something
a
we can
strategy.
visualize. Visualization. Yeah. I think the roadmap
Yeah, and the
helps us see
roadmaps that
it.
I've
Yeah.
created actually were visual roadmaps. I had,
Yeah.
was actually a road, and it was colorful, and I had it, in PDF, and I shared that. My team, everybody on my team had that, but also, I brought that to the management team a lot and referenced it in meetings. So, they were
Great
able to
idea.
understand that this is a strategy document as a company, and again, not just a tech strategy, right? So I think
Yeah.
evangelization, that's really important, making sure it's tied to company priorities and objectives, and that's how you're going to get, again, that lasting momentum.
Absolutely. Well, we have a few minutes left. We do have another question, Andrew. I want to get to
Okay,
it before we go. What are the
sure.
key performance indicators, KPIs, to measure the success of modernization? The key KPIs, the performance
Ooh,
indicators to
okay.
measure success.
Yeah. Again, a great question, highly business dependent, because, depending on what type of organization you are, whether, your hardware, software, services based, it's going to be a primary driver on that. I think you have to look at where you might be struggling, where the pain points are right now. Is that uptime? Is that, SLA? Is it
Yeah.
not meeting SLA or even being able to provide an SLA to your customers? Is it customer satisfaction? Is it, are there sales enablement type of things,
Yeah.
that you're tasked with on the tech side? I think you have to really look at the key things in your organization, as I said before, doing that assessment, really figuring out, why are you taking on this modernization? Most likely you're taking on this modernization because there's an issue, there's a
Yeah.
problem, something's not working, something's very inefficient, and then you turn those pain points into those KPIs, right? So then
Yeah.
you're able to say, hey, our goal is to now have this SLA for our customers. Our goal now is
Yeah.
to have, 2 nines of uptime, and you're able to then start to set those goals, and your modernization is then, those become your KPIs, and your modernization is going to then empower you to accomplish those. So again,
Yeah. It
organization
helps us.
dependent, but
Yeah.
those are key.
Absolutely. And Andrew, you've been so great. I've absolutely thought it was fascinating. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, it's a great topic. Thank you.
Yeah, and before we go, a quick reminder. So everyone who's in the webinar and everyone who registered, you'll receive a full recording of today's session in their mailbox. And I want to pop your contact information up real quick, Andrew, so you can see it there on the screen. If you want to get in
Yep.
touch with Andrew, his contact information is on the slide there. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Vlink can of course help you with legacy modernization, and that's who I represent. If you would like to speak to one of our experts, please email me, and I'll put you in touch with one of our specialists. And just thank you all for attending. Thanks for being part of this important conversation. We'll be sending you a white paper as well on legacy modernization. And of course, we'll send you out the recorded link. So on behalf of Vlink and our entire team, thanks again. We'll see you at the next webinar in September as part of our tech webinar series. And thanks again, Andrew.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, everybody.